All right, happy Monday, everybody at home. It's a short week. We got today and tomorrow, and that's it. So I'm not really sure what we're going to do tomorrow. I don't know if we want to do this or just introduce inequalities and then get back to it when we get back next week. But here we go, inequalities. It's that greater than or less than symbol. So what we need to look at is whether that is an open or closed dot at 1. So here is 1. We need to know, is it open or closed? And it's that little line underneath there, Christopher, is an equals sign. So we are actually going to use 1. So we want to put a dot there because we're using 1. Well, facing it is the greater than side because I got 2 dots here, 1 dot here. The 2 is facing the variable n. So if it's facing the variable n, we want to go to the greater numbers. We look here in the greater numbers. It's 7, that's -7. 7 is the bigger number. We're going to go that way with our numbers. That means is 1, if I replace n with 1, is it greater than or equal to 1? Well, it happens to be equal to, so we can use that one. 2, 3 is greater, 4 is greater, 5 is greater than 1, 6 is greater than 1. However, if I go over here to 0 and I replace n with 0, 0 is not greater and it's not equal to 1, so those are not appropriate answers. Let's move on to the next one, and I'll write this larger again. Once again, we're at 2 here. Get the cursor out of the way there. We're at 2. So there's my 2. I need to determine, is this going to be an open or closed dot? And I see that it is equal. So if it's equal, I'm using 2. So I need to put a dot on 2 because we're actually using it. We're covering the 2 up because we're using it. Now I look at what's facing the variable k. And this one, we see the greater side is on the left and that the less side is on the right next to the variable. So we want the less or smaller numbers. Well, what's smaller, 1 or 3? And 1 is smaller, so our arrow goes in that direction. Do not use the arrow pointing method. It doesn't work when the variables are on the other side. It's backwards. Let's look at number 3. This is n is less than 0. We always, when we're reading it, we read across, but try to read it from the variable. You'll be able to do better. N is less than 0. Well, there is 0. Now we need to determine, is it going to be an open or a closed? Well, there's no equals, so we are not using 0. Not using it. So if I'm not using it, I'm not touching it. Therefore, I put a circle around it because I'm not touching it. I'm not using it. Now I look at the variable. Here's the n. This is the less side. The less side is facing the n, so I want to go to the less numbers. And that's that way. -7 is less than 7. Negative numbers. Because we're going to say if we replace that n with each one of these numbers, even like 2.5, if I said -1, is -1 less than 0? And the answer is yes, it is less than 0. But if I put 2 in there, is 2 less than 0? And that would be a no. Move on to number 4 here. -3 is less than r. All right. We find there's -3 right there. The question is, are we going to use -3 or are we not going to use -3? Chris, are we going to use it? No, there's no equals. So I need to put a what? A dot on it or a circle around it? Not on it, because if it's dots on it, that means we're going to use it, but you're saying we're not using it. So if we're not using it, we're not touching it. So see how we put that circle around? Because we're not using it. And then we look at the variable, guys, and the big side or the greater side is facing the variable. So we go to the greater numbers. Greater numbers to the right. Most of you are right-handed. You can use that method, or just look at the 7 and the -7, and which is greater. The greater is on the right. Look at number 5. We're probably gonna do 8 of these for you. There's a lot of them on there, but these are easy peasy. All right, 0 is greater than or equal to m. So once again, we're gonna ask ourselves, are we gonna use 0? Is there an equals? That's what this line is, right? So we're going to use 0. So do we put a circle around it or do we put a dot on it since we're using it? What'd you say? We're going to dot it because we're using it. Dot's like putting your finger on it. You're pointing it, you're touching it, you're covering it because you're going to use it. And we look at the M side of it, and it's the less side on the M, so we're going to go the less numbers, which is to the left. All right. Use your notes, use your paper, take a look at it. You'll be able to get the idea of what's going on here. -1 is less than or equal to R. So once again, we look at this, we have a line or an equals, therefore it is going to be a dot because we are using it. We cover it up if we're using it. We don't cover it up if we're not using it. And we look at what's facing the R, the variable, and it's the greater side faces the variable, so we go to the right. We go to the bigger numbers. This one's -4 is less than V. So we know -4 is here. There is no equals. No equals, that means we don't use it. That means we don't touch it. We put a circle around it. We're not touching it. It's not equal to it. Well, the greater side is facing the variable, so we want to go to the right because that's where the greater numbers are. Let's look at number 8. This is -1 is greater than X. -1. What do we want to say? Is there an equals under here? No equals. Not using it. So we go to -1. We're not using it. We put a circle around it because we're not touching it. We look to the variable. Here's the variable X. It's the left side facing the variable. Therefore, we go to the less numbers, which happen to be to the left. All right. Hopefully you get that and learn that. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on it. We're not going to do this again tomorrow. We'll probably have some equations we need to solve and then do this. It won't be as much as you have on yours at this point. So get that done. See you tomorrow, and then you'll have a happy Thanksgiving. Bye, guys.